What's going on, Sooner Nation? In the wake of the massive news that Demarco Murray was re-signed to the University of Oklahoma, which I'm going to tell you why it's massive here in a minute, we got to talk about why it's massive and what we should expect out of that room going into the spring, maybe even in the fall camp and the season. Because last year we talked about the running back room being the best room, how there were going to be no questions, and then we went into the season and there were lots of questions. So before we dive into it, before we discuss it, I need y'all to be jumping into the comments and giving me your thoughts on DeMarco Murray getting an extension with Oklahoma, not going to Ohio State. Additionally, if you haven't already, you need to hit that like and you need to hit the subscribe button. Remember, Preston is going to be a dad here soon, and I'm trying to pay for diapers. So would love for you all to be a part of the community here and hit that like button. Just be interactive. Try to be interactive back with you guys as much as possible. So for those who live under a rock, have not paid attention, or just straight frankly do not have the Twitter bird, DeMarco Murray did get an extension with the University of Oklahoma. It was announced by Pete Nakos on 3. DeMarco Murray was getting a 3-year extension. And that's big because now you create continuity, you create stability within that room. Recruits now know, hey, DeMarco Murray's probably here for the long haul unless this man just gets a really good offensive coordinator job. Because here's the deal. When you look at what he's going to be getting paid, I think I was listening to, I think it was the guys over there at Sooner Scoop on their podcast that they did with Joe Castiglione Jr. I think they were saying that maybe you could see him in upwards of $700K a year, which, I mean, that they said would be probably top 3. I have a feeling it's going to be hard to take DeMarco Murray away from Oklahoma at that point. He goes from one of the lower paid assistants on the staff to probably middle tier now. But when you look at this offseason, everybody tried to steal our assistants. You had Todd Bates in Auburn, Bill Beatonbow in Alabama, right? DeMarco Murray apparently interviewed for Michigan and NFL jobs. Like in the NFL teams, I feel like are always going to want DeMarco Murray, but that's beside the point. It's massive because DeMarco Murray is a good developer on the field, but then additionally, he's a good recruiter. And he's a good recruiter because a lot of kids, let's be honest, either like Dallas, which they're going to be recruiting a lot of Texas kids, so they like the Dallas Cowgirls, or they remember watching DeMarco Murray. And so, like, just that alone, playing for that team from 2011 to 2014, that's going to get him some big name brand recognition. Then he played for Philadelphia in 15. Then he played for Tennessee in his final 2 years. But then he played at Oklahoma where he played in, well, he was part of a national championship contending team for multiple years. DeMarco Murray was a key piece. And so for recruits, you not only have a guy that you know can develop you, but he knows what it takes to get to the next level. And I think that's a huge selling point. And that's not a lot of selling points that some of these other guys across the country are going to be able to make. So I like DeMarco Murray as a running backs coach for Oklahoma because if you saw what he did with Kennedy Brooks, I think Kennedy Brooks ended up being an undrafted free agent signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. Then you saw Eric Gray getting drafted by the New York Giants. Guys, I would imagine Gavin Sawchuk's probably going to be able to get drafted. So will Javonte Barnes. Then, depending on how long he is able to be at Oklahoma, you've got Xavier Robinson, who is going to be an absolute stud. You've got Taylor Tatum. Like, this running back room for Oklahoma and what DeMarco Murray is going to be able to do here in the coming years, he's really going to be able to make a name for himself. And he is really going to be a guy that once he starts putting guys into the league, and we already know recruits like DeMarco Murray's philosophy of not running a running back into the ground, showcase their skills, showcase their talent, but don't make them a one-man workhorse for your team. Utilize multiple running backs so that they don't have mileage, so that when it comes time to be draftable, well, you don't have those miles that a lot of scouts will look at and go, yeah, that makes me not want that guy. But looking at his room going into the spring and quite frankly, just going into the season, because this was a room we all expected quite a lot out of last year, and we didn't necessarily get that. And listen, a lot of it was due to Tawi Walker, and Tawi Walker got suspended for the UCF game. You had Gavin Sawchuk with the hamstring injury. Javante Barnes had a nagging foot injury that he just couldn't get over, right? A lot of those things just compounded. It was hard for Oklahoma to gain any rhythm in the run game. And you only really saw it come together towards the last portion where Gavin Sawchuk just went off for 111 against Oak State, 135 against West Virginia, 107 for BYU, 130 against TCU, and 134 against Arizona, getting 9 touchdowns for 120 carries and 744 yards the entire 2023 season. You would imagine that Gavin Sawchuk going into his sophomore year is going to be an absolute probably 1A for Oklahoma. And I only say that because I don't feel like we know what Javante Barnes is going to be. I feel like Javante Barnes is a great talent, but we need to see Javante Barnes through the spring, through fall camp, healthy going into the season. I feel like if you can get back that 1A, 1B duo, you're doing fantastic. And that idea that the room should be able to be really good this year, I feel like that should not be another expectation, because not only do you have those two guys, but you got Caleb Hicks, who is somebody that apparently the staff is really high on, and you understand why. Really highly rated 4-star recruit out of high school. You got Xavier Robinson and Taylor Tatum. Now, Taylor Tatum's obviously going to be doing some baseball, so you kind of wonder, what will he be used like in the first year or two at Oklahoma, especially if you have all of these other great running backs? Like, is Taylor Tatum one of those guys where he's really situationally used, or he's used when there's injuries and they kind of let him redshirt the first year, maybe redshirt freshman year, depending on, you know, what that running back room looks like? Maybe he's like a third or a fourth string guy, but then, you know, when Gavin Sawchuk and Javante Barnes are out of the program, now that's when Taylor Tatum steps up. I kind of wonder how they're going to manage that, and I think we'll see a lot of that this season. But this running back room is extremely talented, and I'm excited to see it. And I'm excited to see what Demarco is actually able to do in terms of development with guys and getting more guys into the league. And I think once he's able to get a Gavin Sawchuk, I mean, let's say Gavin Sawchuk is a first 3-round guy and Javante Barnes is a first 5-round guy, right? I think you're going to start to see running backs really look at Demarco Murray and say, yeah, that's a guy I want to play for. And then if you start to get a guy like, hopefully Torrey Blaylock commits to Oklahoma, and you get a guy like him on your team, and you've got a guy like Taylor Tatum now really being a really good running back for you. Same thing for Caleb Hicks. I think you're going to see a lot of these top-tier running backs, these 5-star running backs, give Oklahoma a little bit harder of a look than they have in the past. And so with the Demarco Murray extension, I think it says a couple things here about Brent Venables, and it says a lot about this athletic department. I think, one, it says Brent Venables is committed to his assistants, and I think it says the athletic department is committed to the assistants. They don't want them to leave. They don't want Oklahoma to just be any stepping stone job. They don't want you to leave for Ohio State, right? They want you to leave for not lateral moves. They want you to take upgraded. Like, you go from running backs coach to OC. Right? We all understand. If Demarco Murray leaves and goes to be an OC, it's just how it is. Like, that's a better job. That's progressing your career. But they're investing in what they have now. And I think that's important. And I think that is the massive news that you get out of the Demarco Murray extension. So, guys, I need to hear from y'all. Make sure you're joining the discussion, jumping down in the comments below. And if you have not already, make sure you hit that like and hit that subscribe button. YouTube wants you guys to tune into one of these 2 videos down below. So make sure you guys are tuning into those as well.